Count Dracula. The very name sends shivers down the spine, evoking images of a dark, foreboding figure lurking in the shadows of a Gothic castle. The name chills the blood, a creature of darkness born from the depths of our most terrifying nightmares. His red eyes pierce through the veil of night, a sinister figure that embodies the essence of fear. A predator of the night, he prowls the darkness with an insatiable hunger. His presence is felt long before it is seen, a creeping dread that sends a cold shiver down the spine. He is the vampire, forever burned into our imaginations, a figure that transcends time, his legend growing with each retelling. The menacing silhouette of Dracula is a symbol of the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Dracula is more than a monster, he is an icon. His story, a warning, his legend, a fascination. He represents the ultimate fear of the unknown, the terror that lies just beyond the edge of our understanding. He haunts our literature, our films, our nightmares. From the pages of Bram Stoker's novel to the countless film adaptations, Dracula's presence is inescapable. His story has been told and retold, each time adding new layers to the myth. He is a whisper in the dark, a shadow at the edge of sight. Dracula's tale is timeless. It speaks to the deepest parts of our psyche, the parts that fear what we cannot see or understand. It speaks to something primal within us, fear of the unknown, the fear that there are things lurking in the darkness, waiting to pounce. Dracula embodies this fear, making it all the more real and tangible. The allure of the forbidden. There is something irresistibly tempting about the darkness, about the unknown. Dracula represents this temptation, the pull towards the forbidden that we all feel but rarely acknowledge. His story is a reminder of the thin line between fascination and fear, between the known and the unknown. Transylvania, land of shadows and ancient evils. Here Dracula was born, a man of noble blood. He made a pact with darkness, traded his soul for power. He became a creature of the night, a vampire. Dracula resided in a decaying castle, a fortress of solitude and dread. He commanded the night, a creature of unspeakable power. His thirst for blood, insatiable. His hunger for life, eternal. Dracula set his sights on London, a new world ripe for the taking. He sought fresh blood, new victims to ensnare. He sailed upon the Demeter, a ghost ship, crewed by the undead. Each night he claimed a life, draining them of their essence. The ship arrived, a harbinger of death. Dracula slipped into London, a predator in the shadows, the city unaware of the darkness descending upon it. Jonathan Harker, a young solicitor, became Dracula's prisoner. Trapped in the castle, he witnessed the Count's true nature. He escaped, but the horror stayed with him. Dracula, meanwhile, found his new prey. Lucy Westenra, beautiful and innocent, she became the object of Dracula's dark desire. He fed on her night after night, draining her life force. Section 5. Lucy's transformation. Lucy grew weak, her life fading. Her transformation began. The curse of the vampire taking hold. Her friends, Jonathan, the brave Mina, the determined Van Helsing, they rallied to save her. They fought to protect her, to drive back the darkness that consumed her. But Dracula's hold proved too strong. Lucy succumbed, reborn as a creature of the night, her innocence lost, replaced by a chilling hunger. Section 6. Hunters in the Night. In the dead of night, a group of determined men and women gathered, their faces set with grim resolve. Armed with stakes and crucifixes, they moved with purpose, their path illuminated only by the flickering light of lanterns. These were no ordinary people. They were hunters, bound by a common mission. Van Helsing, a scholar of the occult, became their leader. His knowledge was vast, his experience unparalleled. He had studied the dark arts and the creatures that lurked in the shadows. It was his expertise that had brought this group together, united in their quest to rid the world of a great evil. He knew the ways of vampires, their strengths and weaknesses. Van Helsing had spent countless hours poring over ancient texts and manuscripts, learning everything he could about these nightmarish beings. He understood their vulnerabilities, the things that could harm them, and the methods to destroy them. They pursued Dracula, a relentless chase through the fog-choked streets of London. The city was a labyrinth of dark alleys and hidden corners, perfect for a creature of the night. But the hunters were undeterred. They moved swiftly, their senses heightened, always on the lookout for any sign of their quarry. They carried stakes, crucifixes, and holy wafers. These were their weapons, the tools they would use to fight the darkness. Each hunter was prepared, their hearts steeled against the fear that threatened to overwhelm them. They knew the risks, but they also knew what was at stake. Their mission: to destroy Dracula. This was not just a hunt, it was a crusade. They were driven by a sense of duty, a need to protect the innocent and to rid the world of this ancient evil. Every step they took brought them closer to their goal, and every moment was a test of their resolve. To end his reign of terror before he could claim more victims, Dracula was a predator, a creature that thrived on the suffering of others. The hunters knew that every moment they delayed, another life was at risk. They had to act quickly, decisively, to put an end to his dark reign. The hunters closed in, their resolve tested at every turn. The path was fraught with danger, and every shadow seemed to hide a new threat, but they pressed on, their determination unwavering. They had come too far to turn back now. The fate of London, the fate of humanity, hung in the balance. This was more than just a battle against a single vampire. It was a fight for the very soul of the city and perhaps the world. The hunters knew that failure was not an option. They had to succeed, no matter the cost. The night was dark, but their spirits burned bright, a beacon of hope in the face of overwhelming darkness. Section 7, Victorian Anxieties. Dracula, a monster for a new age. He embodied the fears of Victorian society, the fear of disease, of the unknown. He represented the dangers lurking beneath the surface of polite society, the repressed desires, the unspoken terrors. His foreignness, his sensuality, his predatory nature, all challenged the rigid morals of the time. Dracula was a symbol of the anxieties that plagued Victorian England. Section 8, The Seductive Monster. Dracula, a monster yet strangely alluring. He possessed a dark charisma, a hypnotic gaze. He offered power, immortality, a taste of the forbidden. His victims often drawn to him, helpless against his allure. He was a predator, yes, but also a seducer. He preyed on their vulnerabilities, their desires. Dracula's appeal lay in his transgression of boundaries, his embrace of the darkness within. Section 9, The Enduring Shadow. Dracula met his end, staked through the heart, his reign of terror brought to an end, but his story did not die, it lived on, passed down through generations. A chilling tale, a warning, a dark fascination, Dracula's legacy cemented in our collective consciousness. He became the archetype, the blueprint for all vampire stories to follow, his influence undeniable. Section 10, From Page to Screen. From literature to film, Dracula's story found new life, countless adaptations, each offering a unique interpretation. From the silent classics to modern blockbusters, Dracula continues to captivate audiences. He is portrayed as monstrous, romantic, tragic, yet always compelling. The vampire, forever evolving, yet forever linked to the image created by Stoker. Section 11, Forever Dracula. Count Dracula, a name whispered in fear and fascination. His legend has transcended time, becoming a symbol of the eternal struggle between light and darkness. He is the original vampire, the king of the undead. His presence is felt in every shadow, every whisper of the night. Dracula is not just a character, he is an embodiment of the unknown, the unseen terror that lurks just beyond the edge of our understanding. His story, a timeless tale of horror, seduction, and the battle between good and evil. From the moment Bram Stoker penned his name, Dracula has captivated audiences with his dark allure and the promise of forbidden desires. The seductive power of the vampire, the eternal struggle of heroes against an almost insurmountable evil, these themes resonate deeply within us. He embodies our deepest fears and darkest desires. The vampire's bite, a symbol of both death and immortality, speaks to our primal instincts. Dracula's fangs, sharp and deadly, are a reminder of the thin line between life and death, pleasure and pain. He reminds us that evil can lurk in the shadows, but also that it can be vanquished. The heroes who rise to challenge Dracula armed with courage and conviction show us that even the darkest night can be pierced by the light of hope. Dracula's legacy will endure not just as a tale of terror, but as a story of resilience and the human spirit's capacity to overcome. He is forever a part of our cultural landscape, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lies within us all. The silhouette of his castle, the haunting landscapes he inhabits, these images are etched into our collective consciousness. Dracula is more than a monster. He is a mirror reflecting our own fears and desires, a timeless figure who will continue to haunt our dreams and our stories for generations to come.